Well, a very good evening to everybody. It's Friday evening and it's 25 to 7. So, those of you who know the channel will be aware that my family's visiting this week, and they've rented a lovely little place because, of course, Bealtaine Cottage is quite small. It's certainly not big enough now to host my expanding family. So, I've made dinner for everyone tonight, and I'm going to be bringing it over to where they're staying. And I just want to show you what I've made. I've just got back in, so I'm still in my jacket, and been out most of the day. We've had a lovely day walking, and just fabulous. Been a little bit rainy, but that hasn't deterred us. And so this morning I got up really early, and before I was set to leave the cottage, I made some food to bring over to supply dinner this evening. So I've just now got the rice here on the stove, and I've just come back in and relit the stove. You can see there's the... And so I've got some whole grain rice cooking because I've made a curry, and I'm going to show you. Just fiddle about here on this stove. Close up the chimney. That way all the heat will go up to the pot. Right. So I got up this morning, and first of all I made a soup. So there's a couple of people who don't like or don't really get on with potatoes, so I've made the base of a soup, and then I've divided it into two pots, and in one pot this is all sweet potato, so sweet potato and butternut squash, and this is the soup. It's all ready to go. Nice big thick soup. Now those of you who want the recipe for my soup, I think the recipe is in the Bealtaine Cottage Guide to the Deep Midwinter, I think. I'm going to check that in a moment. So the other soup, this one is a little bit lighter in colour, and this has got potato in it. So soup to start, and then I've made this beautiful vegan curry. Of course, all the food I make is vegan. And this is a wonderful curry, and it's a chickpea. Chickpea and sweet potato, coriander, coconut milk. Now, the recipe is actually on the Happy Pear site. It's one of those 5-minute recipes, but of course I've turned it into a much longer recipe because I added much more stuff to it. I added some red lentils to it to give it like a nice dal base. And the recipe's on the Happy Pear site, the YouTube site, and it's called 5-minute chickpea and something curry. Anyway, you'll find it. In fact, I might put the link below this video. That's what I'll do. I'll put the link to it below this video. So it smells delicious. And then I made some sweet treats. And of course, again, the sweet treats that I make, this is raw vegan. And just see here. Look at this. And again, the sweet treats are very easy to make as long as you've got a food processor. So I processed varying amounts, just a taste really, of almonds and dates, and I put some oats in with that as well, and some coconut oil and almond butter and cacao powder and a little bit of maple syrup that was brought to me from America, and a little bit of vanilla. So you just keep adding stuff ready to taste until you get a consistency that's easy to shape into these little sweets. And it's really to taste. I mean, you can add coconut to these. You can add other kinds of nuts. You could do a nice kind of a coffee base to them. You know, it's really up to you how you make them. And I haven't written the recipe out for this because I make them differently each time. It just depends on the ingredients I have in my cupboards. So, and there's a few more there on that little plate. So let's just go in to the study, and I'll see if this little recipe for the soup is actually in this book. Let me see. I know the recipe for the bread is in the book. I think I put the recipe for the soup in as well. This is the Bealtaine Cottage Guide to the Deep Midwinter. It's quite a natty little book, actually. Let's have a look at... Aha, here we go. So here's the soup recipe here. Winter needs soup. And there's the recipe, okay? And then there's also the recipe for the bread. I think I point you in the direction of the blackcurrant chutney as well. And there's also a recipe for fruit liqueur. And here we go, there's the recipe for the bread. The one that you don't have to knead. And then this is a recipe for chocolate brownies. Now on that note, sorry folks, I have to go because I'm being called. Blessings to you all. Have a lovely evening.